He don't even have a title yet. And now that I got a title, now there's another excuse. So it seems like it's excuses after excuses after excuses. Now he's not worried about it. I honestly believe, you know, when it comes down to him, deep down in his heart, he know what he's up against when he goes up against me. You know, he thinking the big picture. Like, if I take a chance like this, I need to be getting paid as much money as possible, just in case if I lose. He's talking about he want to fight this guy and fight this guy, so he's going to be the A side, you know. He don't want a 50-50 fight. Well, that just lets you know right now he's not 100% confident in his own abilities. You know, he can say what he wants. The casual fans can say what they want. But me, you know, if I'm confident in my abilities, I'm like, okay, we can do it. You know, it don't matter if it's 50-50 or not. I know I can win, so I don't have nothing to lose.
And look, I mean, another fight that's out there, and again, I know your hands are not in this, but you do have so much experience with the people. I've just got to ask you about it. Spence Crawford has taken quite a while to get finalized. Any observations from that situation?
Well, same problem.
Yeah.
It's a big fight. It has tremendous interest from people who follow boxing. But that doesn't necessarily translate into revenue from pay-per-view, which is the biggest source, because of the piracy. And the fighters realize how big a fight it is, and they want to get paid big amounts of money. And the promoter, in this case PBC, has to look at it and say, you know, hey, we'll put it on, we'll give you nice guarantees, but you've got to really live from the upside, which the fighters realize now will not develop, will probably not develop. So again, unless somebody wants to subsidize that fight, I don't know how it gets done.
Wow. That's a darn shame, Bob. I mean, that's really a changing dynamic of the sport. And I know this is something that's been happening over the course of the last 2-3 years especially. But this issue of piracy is something that I think everyone involved in the sport is really going to need to get their arms around and figure out a solution.
What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So you heard a short clip from Terence Crawford, and you heard a short clip from Bob Arum. Now, I did a video a couple of months ago asking who and what was holding up the fight between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. Now, of course, you get it's several things. It's the two of them. It's the split. It's network situations, all this type of stuff. Pay-per-view. What's Okay, well, what you're going to get from most channels is a favoritism situation right now, where pretty much they're looking at who paid this person what, and, in this sense, it's Errol Spence, which, people are bringing up the point of he gave Mikey Garcia a 50-50 split when they fought. He gave Ugas a 50-50 split when they fought. He gave Sean Porter a 50-50 split when they fought. Well, there is a saying, yesterday's prices are not today's prices. I can understand the points that, most people are making about this situation, being that this is for Undisputed, but also understand too, what Spence was doing was trying to position himself, which is what every fighter, whether they initially know this, understand it or not, which they really don't, because they're all about the fight part of the game, training and going in there and whooping some ass. So they have someone in their camp, at some points, like, look, you're getting older. You got to start thinking about an exit strategy and making the right steps to even get there. So when it comes to the money, when it comes to leverage, they start to understand this. And when you start remembering in your own mind of, when I was coming up, going through the ranks, people were trying to give me a hard time. Nobody wanted to, treat me fair. I had to, scratch and fight for everything. The fighters aren't thinking about what's going on in the minds of the fans, and even the other fighters, the opponents of the fighters. They're not thinking about what their opponent has went through, and what type of things that they've sacrificed and gave up. So my whole thing is, when it comes to who's at fault or who seems like it is at fault, that's always going to be a thing that people are going to bring up and point to. Now, I told you guys, plain and simple, as fighters, I like both of them. Okay. I've always pulled for Errol Spence, no matter who he's fighting. I like Terence Crawford as a fighter as well. And again, I feel nothing, regardless to who wins or loses. The only thing I do is, good job. That's it. Okay. At the end of the day, I told you guys, I always refer to it, red hoodie Errol Spence, told, Terence Crawford go get a belt first. You ain't did nothing at 147. What you did is at 140. It's 147. Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, all of them chimed in. About how he didn't do anything at 140 yet. They understood he was a solid fighter and everything, but you're not just going to walk in here demanding nothing, and you haven't done anything in this division. And this is where, when you was busting your butt at 140, we was busting our butts at 147. So that's how that went. And then, he told him go get a belt first. All right? We've talked about this before. Crawford goes and gets a belt. Now, red hoodie, Errol Spence, they're in the same facility, and he's, I got a belt. What's up? When we gonna fight? Why not, take the easy route and fight Sean Porter? Sean Porter got a belt too. Yes, we have seen several times where Errol Spence has said one thing and then contradicted himself. We've seen everything from him saying he doesn't go to Terence Crawford fights. He don't understand why he's coming to his fight. Then he goes to Terence Crawford fight. That could be, okay, I have interest. The reaction he gave after Sean Porter pretty much was stopped, and how he got up and walked away shaking his head. He was frustrated. I get all of that. Terence Crawford is trying to become undisputed, and so is Errol Spence. Now, people are saying if he wants to fight Errol Spence, that means he would accept 50-50. If he doesn't take it, then that means he doesn't want it. He's ducking. Each fighter is trying to maximize their dollar. Okay? The same way you guys are saying that about Spence. And this is not about a defense for Spence. This is just the logic. Okay? Understand. The same way you guys are saying, if Spence really wants to fight, he'll take 50-50. Because he knows Crawford is not going to go for that. The same way, people can say, well, shit, if Crawford wants to fucking fight, he'd take 60-40. Because he knows Spence is not going to go 50-50. Not to mention, Terence Crawford is explaining what he feels Spence's reason is for not taking 50-50. And you heard him say, if you confident in your skills, like I know I'm going to win. So I don't care if it's 50-50 or not. It don't matter, right? Because I ain't got nothing to lose. I know I'm going to win. So then take the 60-40 and then beat him. And then guess what? You become the A side. Anybody can say that. This is not about who you like, who you don't like. Look at the logic and the reason of it. If you can speak on behalf of Spence and say he's not confident in himself and he's trying to make as much money as he possibly can, isn't that the same thing you're doing by asking for 50-50? Because you're not the biggest star between the two of you. I don't care nothing about the fans who want to come up with these fake numbers and talk about how much he sold and he this and that. His own promoter, Bob Arum, said he was frustrated in Terence Crawford because he couldn't sell anything. He was losing money with Terence Crawford. Let's not forget that. You ain't never heard nobody on Team Spence say, man, I'm losing money with this guy. He can't sell. And Spence has been building up his profile. And the one thing that nobody's bringing up that's trying to choose sides is you're talking about bargaining chips. You make it sound like having one belt versus 3 belts means nothing. If that's the case, you can have a guy with no belt at all just walk up and say, even though I have nothing to bring to the table, right? I want 50-50, or I want the biggest fight out there. I think I deserve that fight over this guy, even though he has a belt and I don't. What did we say about Ryan Garcia? Not that the Tank fight is not a big fight, because it is. But why do you want to fight Tank instead of Haney when Haney has all the belts? So if you're confident you can beat Haney, why not go get all 4 of those belts in an easier fight? But we know that Ryan Garcia said out of his own mouth, which I played that on my video, that Haney would be in his opinion, would be the hardest fighter that's out there in his division, over Tank, over Teofimo, you know, over all those guys. So that's the whole point. What are we saying about Jake Paul? Why would you fight the loser of a fight instead of the winner if you want to make a statement? So it's the same thing here, man. It's like you're saying you want to fight and you want 50-50. And I'm not saying Terence Crawford is wrong for what he wants. I'm not saying that Spence is wrong for what he wants. But what I'm saying is Crawford and Spence are both trying to get the same things. And you can't tell me that a guy who went out and won belt after belt after belt versus a guy who has 1 belt versus a guy who has fought in front of 50,000 in Texas Stadium versus a guy who can't sell out a stadium. That's how things work. I forget the guy's name, but he did an interview with True School Boxing a couple of months ago, maybe last month, and I spoke about that particular interview where the guy is saying, you know, he was talking about 2 particular fighters, and he said that it was an excellent fight, 2 great fighters, but it didn't matter. It's not pay-per-view worthy. Why? Because nobody knows these guys. And this is why I'm saying, see, that's the wrong mentality. I understand where he's coming from, but see, that's part of the mentality that's wrong, why boxing is being so ruined, where we can't get these fights and can't create stars and superstars. Because why? It's a popularity contest, which is why Jake Paul can sit with a bunch of made-up belts that he went and paid for himself and got made up that mean absolutely nothing but sentimental value to him. A gift for him, from him, to himself. And sit them up there like these belts mean something when you have guys that's busting their ass out here that's undisputed, but people don't want to put them on their pound-for-pound list. Undisputed, but people still want to say that guy will beat him. Undisputed, but oh, he's ducking, yet he got all the belts. Yet a guy who went and paid for belts. This is not sanctioned by any organization. You understand? And it's, oh man, look at all them belts. Oh yeah, he beat this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. You understand? So it's like a big circus. And you look at that and you tell me that this is the era that we've come into, where you honor a guy for having some belts that he went and made and paid for, and versus guys who are actual champions. So, yeah, man, I mean, bottom line, if more belts doesn't mean anything, then what's the purpose of Undisputed? What's the purpose? See, it's easy to say, if it was me, I would do this and this when you're not in that situation. But the way I see it, I think that both of those guys, Errol Spence said, like, for example, you know, he's what, 32 now? Crawford is what, 34, 35, something like that. So these guys are both trying to do the same things, but all pointing the finger, well, he's doing this and he's doing that. Because one can say the same thing to the other. It doesn't matter. If you're so confident you can beat me, why not make it 50-50 and beat me? Well, I am confident that I can beat you, but I don't think you're worth 50-50. Then after I beat you, I got to deal with how much money I lost. Yeah, I understand it's the legacy fight, but we're not in this for free. This is money. I'm not trying to leave millions on the table, right? Same thing. You, on the other hand, you know, you trying to get 50-50, you're not worth it. But then, like, okay, well, you want 60-40, and I know I'll beat you, right? I know I'll beat you. So guess what? I don't want to leave money on the table either. You got 3 belts, I got 1, right? Just imagine. You got 3 belts, I got 1 belt. and I'm asking for 50-50. I'm not a bigger star. And, you know, you have people that think that Terence Crawford's a better fighter. You have people that think that Spence is a better fighter. I mean, I watched the interview with Abel Sanchez, and he said, I got to give Errol Spence. I think he's a better fighter. Terence Crawford can outbox you, yes, and beat you, but look at what Spence does to people. Look at the fighters after they fight Spence, which is, you got a point in that sense, okay? You don't have to be the most technical. That doesn't guarantee the win. You don't have, you don't have to be the hardest puncher. Like that, none of that guarantees a win. It's how you all put it together in the ring and what happens. Every fight is different. So think about this, right? I was watching this one channel, and the guy was making a point about how he said that Errol Spence struggled with Kell Brook and Terence Crawford beat him easily. See, even though this guy has been doing this for a long time, has been watching boxing, he's clearly a Crawford fan. Now, let me say what he didn't explain in that. First off, both of these guys are solid fighters, in my opinion. Both, Crawford and Spence. But let's just be real, okay? And let's say something that wasn't said. This is why I do what I do. First off, yes, Kell Brook, he was outboxing Spence. It might have been ahead. I don't remember exactly, but I think he might have been ahead on points in that fight. That doesn't count. I mean, that doesn't matter if the end result is you lost. You got stopped. That's what matters, that you got the victory. Okay, if I'm playing basketball, I'd rather you have a way better highlight reel than me, as long as we win. That's my goal, is to win. Okay, and there was no hook or crook. It was no rivalry. No, he got stopped. Now, what people said in that fight was, well, Kell Brook wasn't the same because of what Triple G, he broke his orbital bone. Well, guess what? In that same fight with Errol Spence broke his other orbital bone. This side had nothing to do with this side. Okay? Spence started putting that heat on him as the fight started going on, and he started breaking him down. That's what Spence is known to do. And that's not the only fight he does that in. He just recently did it to Ugas in their fight. Okay? I don't think he was behind in that fight, though. But regardless, that doesn't matter. Being behind in the fight doesn't mean, oh, well, it's big deal. Okay, he was behind. The point is who won the fight. Now, if he was damaged goods, which is even what Roy Jones referred to Kell Brook, okay, was damaged goods. Because why? Like I said, Triple G broke his orbital bone. So, even though it wasn't even the same injury, wait a minute. You mean to tell me when Kell Brook fought Terence Crawford, which was some years later after he fought Spence, you mean to tell me he wasn't damaged goods anymore? Now he had 2 broken orbital bones. And we know Kell Brook, first off, skill-wise, Kell Brook had slipped. He wasn't the same when he fought Terence Crawford. 2, he got dropped with a freaking jab. So we knew, like, nah, this guy definitely wasn't the same fighter. See, but that wasn't mentioned. It's just the point of, oh, you struggled and Terence Crawford beat him easy. He should have beat him easy. He should have. So if he was damaged goods when he fought Errol Spence, then that means he was doubly as damaged, against Crawford. But that wasn't brought up. And the reality is, like I said, I understand and I agree somewhat with a lot of the points that people are making. But I think people are just making way too much out of this in terms of trying to point a finger at someone to, oh, this guy's scared of this guy. They're not looking at the negotiations. Like Terence Crawford made a tweet saying something about people don't know shit about boxing and that, I bet you if I went to your job and said, cut all they pay, y'all would cry or some shit or whatever. Well, here's the deal, though. You can't go, and that's really an irrelevant point that he's trying to make. I understand what he's saying. But his own point works against him. Because what he's saying is he feels like he deserves 50-50. Spence is saying you don't deserve 50-50. I come in this motherfucker with 3 belts. I'm more popular than you are, and that's a fact. The numbers ain't fucking lying. And then you, with your 1 belt, and can't sell and have problems with your own promoter. And then, remember, Terence Crawford said he was going to leave Top Rank. Him and Arum had words back and forth just to end up re-signing with them. You understand? So, there's points back and forth. People can make points back and forth with each other. But the two, fuck the fans and everybody else trying to make points. The two of them can both make points against each other. But the reality is, Terence Crawford, and this is what nobody said, Terence Crawford and Errol Spence is both trying to maximize their dollars. Terence Crawford wants 50-50. Errol Spence says you're not worth 50-50. I even heard a video where a guy was talking about how Terence Crawford had 2.5 million viewers against Kell Brook. Bro, do you think that those 2.5 million was all for Terence Crawford? Kell Brook had nothing to do with that? It was all Terence Crawford? You seem to forget Kell Brook and Amir Khan, who are both way past their primes, had a highly successful event back in the UK. Okay? Had a highly successful event over there against each other. And I don't think nobody thought that that fight would be as, the results would be as positive as they were, because both guys are clearly past their primes. So let's not make it like Terence Crawford did, like this was the Terence Crawford show. Because even after that, what has he done since then in terms of his numbers? What did his numbers do against Sean Porter versus what Errol Spence versus Sean Porter numbers did? See, nobody's bringing these things up because they're talking out of favoritism. I'm not speaking from favoritism. I'm basically rebuttaling these things I'm hearing, and understand it's not about who you like or don't like. I like both of them as fighters. Yes, I'm riding with Errol Spence versus Crawford, but at the same time, it's kind of like I want to see both of them do good. You understand what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'm the one who told you, yes, plain and simple, Errol Spence clearly ducked, and we have it on video. There's no need to try to change it to be something that you want it to be. We heard what came out of his mouth. So that was his own words and his own doing. But in this situation, Terence Crawford is trying to be treated like I'm your equivalent. Right? I'm a better fighter than you, but I'm your equivalent all around. We need to split 50-50. And he's like, no. You know, Anthony Joshua was willing to split 50-50 with Tyson Fury just for the sake of making the fight happen. Okay? This is for Undisputed, just like that fight was for Undisputed, if it would have happened. Now, you guys remember when Roy Jones fought Bernard Hopkins, right? No title wasn't for Undisputed or anything. But at the end of the day, they fought at a time where they both was on the come up. So neither one of them was as popular. Neither one was as popular as they were going to become. When they were trying to get a rematch, Roy Jones was light heavyweight. Bernard Hopkins was fighting at middleweight. Roy Jones refused to do 50-50. And he had a point. But I remember people that was riding with Bernard was like, oh, Roy's scared. Yeah, Roy talking about 60-40. Nah, man, he trying to price himself out. Roy Jones is like, why I got to split 50-50 with somebody I already beat? I beat him. Right? I beat him. I don't care who else he beat. He ain't beat me. I beat him. Why I got to split 50-50 with him? He's like, nah, 60-40 or no deal. So let's not act like this is something new. This, look. And I agree. I said, damn, Roy got a point. And at that point, the only loss Roy had was the Montel Griffin, disqualification loss. But at the end of the day, by the time they had the rematch, they both were past their prime. Bernard still had more in the tank than Roy at that point, even though he's like 4 or 5 years older than Roy. He still had more in the tank than Roy. And, he went on and won that fight. Nobody cared about that fight, man. It wasn't even nothing worth remembering, actually. But at the end of the day, their first fight didn't have any real hype behind it. It wasn't a pay-per-view fight. It was on regular, maybe HBO or I don't know, Showtime, whatever. It was on something. It was on a cable channel, but maybe 2 late night fights for all I remember. I don't remember. But at the end of the day, there was nothing behind that fight. So by the time they even had the second one, that ship had sailed already a long time ago. So nobody cared at this point. Case in point, Errol, Spence, and Crawford right now are still in their primes. And it's only worse for Crawford, man, because he's older. Unless he can pull a Bernard Hopkins and maintain what he has longer than what Errol has. But I will say this, and I don't care who you think is going to win. Somebody has to win. Somebody has to lose. That's just the way it is, right? The reality of this whole situation is, business-wise, the fighters are becoming more wise in understanding the fight game, as opposed to back in the day when a lot of fighters didn't. They just, went with whatever they were told. And this is what they do to make their money. So I get what Terence Crawford was saying about if I went to your jobs and said, cut the money. Well, okay then. Exactly. You have the same point as Spence. The only thing is Spence don't see you as, being worth 50-50. So how can you take a side on the fact that they both want to maximize their dollars? How the hell can Crawford say, I should be getting 60-40? How can he say that? And if we're talking about who's the biggest star, come on, man. You smoking dope if you think that Terence Crawford is more popular than Errol Spence. You can't be serious. All you have to do is look at the numbers. And the thing is, you got to understand, the only fight that they could even bring up about good numbers was the Kell Brook fight. And to be honest with you, I don't even know what those numbers did. But in all honesty, nobody was even talking about that fight. And you can go back in my archives and look, and I was mentioning that, like how nobody's talking about Kell Brook versus Kell Brook versus Terence Crawford. Nobody. I'll bet you Kell Brook versus Amir Khan did way better numbers than Terence Crawford versus Kell Brook, or Terence Crawford versus Amir. I guarantee you, them against each other did way better numbers. And people will say, yeah, because they fought in the UK and that's where they're from. That's not the point. That's part of the point. But overall, the point is, Kell Brook is past his prime when he fought Terence Crawford. Him and Amir Khan are both past their primes and they fought each other. And they still did better numbers against each other. Where did Terence Crawford go to fight Amir Khan? Fight Kell Brook. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying about what people are saying in terms of, trying to make it, look, we don't have to try to make Terence Crawford more popular than what he really is. And we don't have to try to pretend we don't know the type of things that Errol Spence has said. We already know it's been laid out. We know. But case in point, if you're going to try to make a point and you're going to do it out of fanboyism, all it is a bunch of back and forth, Spence fans against Crawford fans, and you guys are making it about yourselves when it's not about you. And you got to understand, just like what Bob Arum was talking about, Bob Arum is talking about the piracy. And basically the part of the video that you guys didn't hear was him talking about, in the UK, look at how they're still doing very well with pay-per-views. And I think because people in America, they hear, this is my words, not Bob Arum, this part, but I believe what it is they hear about how pay-per-views are not selling over here like they used to, and they think that this is a global thing, which is not the case in the UK. And like he said, you can get these same pay-per-views in the UK for £25. Over here, they want $80 for a pay-per-view. So now imagine, what is it now? July. Okay, so let's just say, for example, July, you have a fight coming up. $89 for this pay-per-view, right? Next month, another $89 pay-per-view. You got to understand, you have diehard boxing fans, which are far and few. Then you have the casuals. And then you have people like, basically, let's say, boxing fans, for the most part, will watch boxing. They don't care if it's Matchroom, They don't care if it's DAZN, if it's PBC. They don't care about none of that. They just want to see boxing. But you have too many divisions. Casuals. They always want to pick and choose sides when it's just boxing. But you got to also understand, you have people that they have like Netflix accounts, Hulu, they order, WWE, WrestleMania, AEW, Double or Nothing, Impact West. They order these pay-per-views, so they don't watch just boxing. They order UFC. They probably order bare knuckles. Of course, you have people so they're not just everything is boxing. So okay, you know what? I just seen, boxing last month. All right, you know what? I'm going to order this AEW pay-per-view now. I want to see some wrestling tonight. This is what you have. So now, instead of you having, like one of the things Bob Arum said, like, I don't know if the British people are just so honest that they won't steal streams, or if the fact is that it's just so affordable. But that plays a big part. Pay-per-view is a big thing, and how, think about it. Why you think you have fighters that get greedy and they'll say you make 0% profit on the pay-per-view? I get all of that. You get your percentage, like, when they call the shots and how Jake is doing Hassan Rahman, right? Junior. So stuff like that. It's because the money that you're going to get, everybody want to maximize their dollars. It's like, imagine you fighting somebody and somebody go, wait a minute. So if he get his way, he's going to get $5 million and I'm only going to get $1 million. Nah, hell no. Yeah, they're trying to get as much as they possibly can. And the A side dictates pretty much everything. So the whole thing is, the way things have been going now lately, big fights are not guaranteed. Or the biggest fights are not guaranteed. Everybody wants to maximize their dollars, man. And that's the thing. Ego make people go in and say, I'm just as big as you are, and everybody wants 50-50. And that's not going to work for everybody. That doesn't mean Spence is ducking because he said, Spence is not. If Spence was ducking, they're saying he's overpricing himself by saying 60-40, take it or leave it. Why is Terence Crawford not ducking by saying 50-50? Because they both, you understand, they both can say the same thing. Neither one of them want to give. If it's about legacy, and if Crawford is as confident in himself as he's saying Spence should be in himself, and obviously he's not, that's why he's saying 60-40. He's trying to make as much money as he possibly can because he's scared he's going to lose. He could just say, fuck, okay, 60-40. You got it. I'm going to kick your ass. And after that, guess what? I'm undisputed. His stock goes up automatically. So either one of these guys could just say 50-50 or 60-40. Either one of them can just, all right, cool. But I know if I got 3 belts and you got 1, and, like I said, it's always easy to say what you do when you're not in a certain position. But if I got 3 belts and you have 1 belt and I have more popularity than you do, and the crazy thing, people have said Terence Crawford is a skillful boxer, but, he's like, he plays it safe a lot of times. Then you heard people talk about how a lot of times he brawls unnecessarily and all, right? One thing that you've never heard nobody say about Terence Crawford is that he does physical damage to guys. Like, they're never the same after they fight him. We've said that many times about Errol Spence. So you have 2 guys that's exciting in their own way, and people going to pick and choose. That's all good, fine. But at the end of the day, what we're saying is this fight needs to happen, but it's only going to happen if these guys come to terms. So bringing up who Errol Spence gave 50-50 to, again, like I said, yesterday's prices is not today's prices. That's just the way things go. And being that this is undisputed and they feel like Terence Crawford is better than all those guys, well, Errol Spence was better than all those guys too because he beat them. So it's like all of these points that people are making is not going to change anything, and it's not going to help anything by choosing sides. What I'm saying is not in favor of anybody. I'm just taking what was said and what, the actions of these guys, and like, look, anybody that understands when your business is always business first. I don't care how many. You can go to the circus and you got the clowns with their painted faces, the acrobats and that. Let me tell you something. These people ain't making money. You know, you don't see behind the scenes when they pissed off. You know, you're not paying me no more. You know, you're not paying me. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. My feet are killing me. My back is killing me. I'm always here. You know, we traveling and I'm not making the money that, you know, all that kind, right? Do you think that if a person is not being treated right, they're going to say, you know what, I can't walk away? Because, you know, when I think about the expressions on those little kids' faces when I do my magic tricks, and no. Them smiles is not putting food on the table, man. It's a job. It's entertainment, but it's a job for them. So what they're doing, they want to be compensated for. And if they're not being well compensated, well, the kid's just going to be going, oh, what happened to the clown? I like the old clown, but well, the old clown is gone. And guess what? The new clown, the new acrobats, the new animal trainers, and whoever, if they're not being paid the way they want, they're going to go somewhere else. That's business. Business is always business first. It's never legacy first. Reputation first. It's business first. Reputation, yeah, in a sense, we want people to keep coming back. But some people just don't understand. When it comes to your money, nobody wants to be, you know, feel like they're being shortchanged. So if Terence Crawford feels he's worth 50-50 and Spence feel like he's not, you can't look at it and just say he's ducking because of that. Now, the shit that came out of his mouth before, yeah, I clearly say he ducked. And people, oh, man, you a Crawford fan. No, motherfucker, I'm nobody's fan. But that was a clear fucking duck. A clear duck. Okay? And so my thing is, once you start saying things about what this person should do and could do, you gotta look at yourself and say, okay, wait, I could do the same thing. It's just like, you ever had somebody walk in a building, look at you, glance at you, and turn away, and then go to your coworkers or somebody and say, hey, I don't speak to nobody. Motherfucker, did you speak to him? Well, no. Okay, then. You didn't speak to him. He didn't speak to you. Why is it a conversation? You could have said, hey, how you doing? Right? He's not complaining, but you are. So you both could have said hello. You didn't say nothing to neither that person, so why are you complaining? Same thing. You know, they both want to maximize their money. So all I'm saying is don't be fooled by people, you know, taking sides. It's not about defending Crawford. It's not about defending Spence. It's about defending the logic and the reason. Plain and simple. That's why I played that clip. I opened the video with that. That clip is powerful because what Crawford is saying goes for himself as well. It's not a one-sided thing. He's the one saying it, but it's like, no, man, you could take 50-50 on 60-40 the same way you're saying he could take 50-50. This is for undisputed. I get it. Me personally, I feel like I can't fault either guy. I really can't. It's just a thing where if it don't happen, then it just don't happen. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going to cry over it and lose any sleep if it doesn't happen. Do I want to see the fight? Yeah. But if it doesn't happen, it just doesn't happen. And this is the world that we've come in. So now, for all of you guys who don't understand even why when you hear me speaking about these YouTube content creators that actually are putting events together and they're having success, I'm not mad at that. You know, I'm never mad at any of that. But when I look and I'm saying these same guys are speaking about fighting guys who are world-class guys and nobody's stepping up to say anything, they're all just allowing this to happen. Now, when you see the point of what I'm saying, these guys are outshining these world-class fighters. In fact, for all of the people, this is what I want y'all to do. Pay attention, because neither fight has happened yet. But let's see how much money Errol Spence, if it happens, him and Crawford, or whoever else, whatever other big fight that can be made between two world-class guys, let's see how much money they make versus what Jake Paul is going to make. And this guy's a novice, but it's all about popularity. So this is the whole thing of what I'm saying with all this money situation. This is what is always about money. But now it's just gotten to the point where it's become a circus show, man. It's just become this whole big O. All you got to do is be popular. Like when you hear You know, Rock Bond say everybody wants to fight Jake Paul. Why? Not because he's a hell of a fighter, but because, shit, for the payday. You guys remember last year? Or was it early in the year when I played the clip about the guy was asking Canelo, would he be interested in fighting Jake Paul? What did Canelo say? Nah, I mean, if he improves, maybe. But nah, not now. What I say? Man, if Jake Paul, all of a sudden in the next 6 months, ended up, let's just say like, yo, $300 million or some crazy, do you really think Canelo would turn $300 million down? This is what nobody's expecting that to happen. And more than likely that probably won't. You never know. You know, never know. You know, but the point, what I'm saying, what do you think fighters fight for? I don't care how great a fighter is and how much you love the fighter or you lust after these fighters or you worship these fighters or whatever it is y'all do. There's no fighter out there that's going to turn down $300 million, $30 million, $3 million. No, unless they can. You'll turn $3 million down if you're making $13 million or $30 million or $300. Yeah, you'll turn it down then to make that more. But other than that, do you think these guys are really going to say nah? And plus, Canelo already in a great position financially, a legacy and everything. So, no, he wouldn't be looking forward to fighting Jake Paul because Jake Paul is not on his level. But for that money, oh, he'd fight Jake Paul. And that's the thing. It has to be something that's like way more than what he's getting now. Now, understand, he turned down, what, $50 million to fight Jamal Charlo. We seen the DAZN interview. We saw the video. So we can't, oh, no, he didn't. No, he did. That's a lot of money he turned down. Why? Got to ask him that. He knows why he did it. He knows why he did it. But he turned that down. So now when you sit and listen to all of these things being said about, you know, who is doing what. So think about the video when I asked who and what is holding up this fight. We had an idea. And pretty much we was right. We don't know all the details word for word and every single, you know, little nook and cranny of everything that's going on. But pretty much it's a money thing. So I don't know if this fight will ever be made. If it is made, hopefully it happens before one of them go out and lose to somebody. Then the fight loses, you know, the prestige that it would have. And what makes the fight even that much bigger is because it's those two and it's for undisputed. So let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Never fall in love with lies. You know the truth breaks hate out of people. I will catch y'all in the next video.